Now let's turn our attentions to Western Sahara. MOULOUD SAID is the Polisario Front's representative in Washington, D.C. MOULOUD, welcome. Thank you for talking to Africa Here and Now. I started off by describing the Western Sahara issue as Africa's last colony. There are many people who don't understand the background of Western Sahara. As I said, calling it Africa's last colony, it was, I jotted down a few dates. 1957, Morocco claimed Western Sahara, but Spain, who'd colonized the region, pulled out in 1975, right? Morocco then annexes it, and it is not recognized internationally at all. But bit by bit, over the successive years, more and more countries have been according Morocco the recognition of having sovereignty over Western Sahara. Most recently, Spain in 2022, I think it was, and then just this year, it was France. So if you pick up from there, MOULOUD, so that we can explain why these big countries have seemingly suddenly decided to recognize Morocco's claim to Western Sahara.
Just a small correction. The Moroccans, they supported the right of the people's self-determination in the 60s and 70s at the UN resolution. So they did not claim Western Sahara in 1957. But there are several issues that they made this change. They said that they support the autonomy. But the issue is that no one knows the autonomy plan because Morocco never presented that plan. So you have many countries, they say they will support the autonomy plan presented by Morocco, but no, until today, the plan is not presented nowhere, not at the UN, not to any. Secondly, in the case of Spain in particular, I'm sure you heard about this case of the Pegasus. You know that they had this Pegasus recording on Mr. Sanchez, his wife.
The big scandal, yeah.
So there was just blackmail that has to do with that. And in fact, in the Spanish Parliament, Spanish Congress, from the most left party to the right party, all of them, they came up with a position against the decision taken by Mr. Sanchez, a position that he could not explain. Sometimes they said it's because he wants to stop the flood of immigrants from Morocco because the Moroccans, they open the gate and they close it whenever they want. And they're using it as a pressure on Morocco. So there is that, and there is the issue of the Pegasus. That's regarding Spain. And he said that he supports the autonomy, but he never read the autonomy plan because it does not exist up to today. There is no real plan.
That's the plan that's been put forward by Morocco, suggesting that Western Sahara has a certain amount of autonomy, but under the sovereignty of Morocco, right?
Well, yeah.
MOULOUD, of course, the other element in this story was the last Donald Trump administration, when the American diplomats went to Morocco and said, we want you to recognize Israel, have reopened formal diplomatic relations. So that seemed to tip things over a bit. And what was quite surprising was that after, and it was done in the final days of the last Trump administration in 2020, and what was surprising was that when Joe Biden came in, although the Democrats were committed to a negotiated settlement in Western Sahara, that is to say, there should be a proper referendum, a free and fair referendum to decide the future of the territory, the Americans suddenly forgot about that, and Biden just essentially rolled over. So you've got this combination of the Americans rolling over, Biden rolling over on the Trump decision, Trump coming back. Then, as Martin says, you've got France and Spain. I'm just wondering what the options are now for the Polisario. I mean, is the only way, not wishing to be a gloomster, but is the only way that you go back to armed struggle?
Thank you very much for the question. Regarding the decision taken by Trump, as you know that in February of 22, almost 30 senators, Republicans and Democrats, they wrote a letter to the new president, then Biden, asking him to cancel the decision taken by Trump, which what the administration decided to do is just to freeze it, leave it as it but still working with the United Nations.
Yeah.
So they took that position, which they did not give up on the right of the people of Western Sahara which we believe that's a big success from what we're coming. France, it has its own reason. It has been from day one supporting Morocco, as I said, politically, economically, militarily. They are the one who are behind the autonomy plan, an autonomy plan that no one knows what's about. And we are not against the autonomy plan, but it has to be among the choices that the people of Western Sahara should choose among: independence, integration, and autonomy. So that this is the democratic solution, but it seems that the French and the French are afraid of having a free election, a free referendum in the Western Sahara. So that's and we are going to continue, of course, with our struggle. This is not going to the end of the Sahrawi struggle. I mean, not even remotely to think about it. I mean, we're going to continue, and whether the U.S. position or the French or the Spanish becomes more clear than the one before, we're going to keep on fighting for our right, because that's something that we're committed to, and we're ready to do to go to the
When you
final
say fighting for your
on
rights,
this.
fighting for your rights, is that just a diplomatic term, or do you actually physically mean fighting with Morocco on this? Because I noticed that Algeria has really ramped up its military spending recently. So has Morocco. And a lot of people fear that there could be some sort of explosion of conflict in the area.
Because of the conflicts going on in the Middle East, Ukraine, and so on, nobody looks at any other conflict right now. And so we're going to continue using all means possible and all the legal means to continue our struggle, including the military choice.
Perhaps, Maulud, you could just briefly, for those who don't know much about it, tell us what's in it for Morocco. Why is Morocco so obsessed with Western Sahara?
This is, as for anybody who knows the area, Morocco became independent in 1956, and when Mauritania became independent in 1960. When Mauritania became independent in 1960, Morocco refused to recognize Mauritania. They said that it belongs to Morocco because the Moroccan border goes to the river of Senegal, and it comprises even Timbuktu. That was the official map of Morocco. When Algeria became independent in 1962, Morocco invaded Algeria because they wanted to take part of Algeria, all the western part of Algeria. So this expansionist policy, it has been the tradition and the basis of the Moroccan policy, the expansion that in fact, Mauritania became independent in 1960, and Morocco recognized them 9 years later, 1969.
Is this expansionism for the sake of expansionism, or is there a point to it beyond ego and, jingoism? Do you see, people, why is Morocco, which is a very successful, attractive country in its own right, so obsessed with Western Sahara? Is it just so they can have as much land as possible, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, there are different reasons for it. One of them is that they dream about their big empires. And the other one in the Western Sahara is their appetite for the phosphate and the resources in the Western Sahara. As you know, Western Sahara is one of the biggest,
right,
the biggest reserve in phosphate and open sky mine, plus the fishing, which right now I'm sure you heard about the European Court of Justice that denied Morocco, any European country to sign an agreement with Morocco on Western Saharan resources. So there is the issue of the appetite they had for the mineral.
So there's a substantial economic benefit.
Yeah, and secondly, just a few years before, there was several coup attempts against the king by the army. And that's a way also of getting rid of the army and keeping them busy in Western Sahara.
All right. Now, Maulud, currently, the Polisario Front has, should we say, control of only about 20% of the territory. The population who remain there are living quite basic, should we say, quite impoverished lives. They're living on humanitarian aid. They're living in tented camps. And are you saying that all you would really need is a fair referendum of these people so that they can determine how they want to proceed in their country? Or are you being maximalist and saying it's independence, self-determination, or nothing?
It has never been our position since the day we embarked in the UN process in 1991, and we accepted the UN African Union proposal, which calls for a referendum with two options. One of them is the full integration to Morocco, and the other one is the independence of Western Sahara. And of course, we signed that we agree on whatever decision is taken in a free and fair referendum by the people of Western Sahara. So what we have to do is to accept whatever the people wants. If they want to be part of Morocco, we'll accept it. If they want to be independent, Morocco has to accept it. That has to be in a free and fair referendum.
But it's not happening, is it? This referendum is not happening.
It's not happening for a simple reason. I think even Mr. James Baker made it very clear at the end of his term. He came up with his plan, which was signed by Morocco and Polisario in Houston. A few days later, when the Moroccan delegation went back to Morocco, they changed their mind. They said they are not part of it. And like Mr. Baker said, the Moroccans will never have the recognition of their sovereignty of Western Sahara unless they have a free and fair referendum where the people can choose their destiny.
In your opinion, are the majority of Sahrawis pro-independence, or do you have the people who would rather be part of something larger and more prestigious?
If we follow the logic, if the Moroccans knew that they have the majority, they would have accepted the referendum a long time ago. If the Moroccans, they knew they can win, they would have accepted the Baker plan.
Good point. Very good point.
The Baker plan, which called for the referendum, they could have accepted it. And we accepted it with no reservation.
Because you were confident that you would win.
Yes, and that's we know. And the Moroccans are confident they are going to lose. That's why they refuse to have to speak about. And the problem is that it's a matter also of culture in Morocco. I mean, I'm not speaking about Sweden or the UK or something. This is a regime where free elections and freedom of expression and democracy, the way it's understood in the West, is not the one they have in Morocco. So for them to have a free election, free referendum organized by the class organization is something that out of this world.
Do you think the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, should he be doing more to rescue the Baker Plan and to put it back on the agenda? He hasn't really made many moves on this.
Yeah, I think the first responsibility is on the Security Council. They are the one who have the first responsibility. And while you have countries like France that from day one have been, even before this latest development, they have been committed to Morocco, even preventing the United Nations mission in Western Sahara to have human rights mandate. The French, they are the one who oppose it. So that's the minimum that could be done in a UN operation. So imagine to have the French accept what Morocco refuses. It's like having Morocco in the Security Council with a veto. That's why this process really did not go through. It's because of the French responsibility in this. They are the one who were responsible for the failure of Mr. Baker, the Security Council, and also for all the fact that we don't have the referendum today and we don't have a UN mandate for the human rights in the occupied territory and also in the refugee camps. Because when we ask for the MINURSO, the UN mission mandate for human rights, it's not just in the occupied territory, but also in the refugee camps, so that we can expose the Moroccan lies about the situation in the camps. So we accept the human rights monitoring in the camps also, not just in the occupied territory.
Mouloud, and finally, I think everyone will accept that the international landscape has changed quite dramatically. There's a lot of uncertainty now on the horizon with a new Trump presidency, perhaps disengaging from the international community. What does the near future look like for the Polisario Front and the fight for self-determination for Western Sahara?
For the last almost 50 years that we have been fighting, the world, the landscape in the world have changed so many times. And yet we did not change. We kept the same commitment, the same determination, and whatever is landscape in the future, nothing is going to be changing in us. So we're going to keep on our struggle until we reach our goal, whatever are the circumstances internationally or regionally.